Okay, so here we are finishing up the inspection period section of the contract. So what happens once we get through inspection period? Once you do all of your due diligence on the property, you're satisfied that this is the property that you want to move forward with, but there's some repairs that need to be handled. There's some things that need to be done. You love the home, you're fine with the commute, you're fine with all the surrounding area, you've done all your research, like you love the school system, whatever it is that matters to you. At the end of the day, you're ready to move forward with this home. However, there are some repairs that need to be done. Or let's say that after you do your due diligence, you realize the commute's not going to work for you. There's not enough restaurants nearby that you like. The grocery store is too far away. Whatever it is, and you choose to you're just not thrilled with the property. Maybe you're not thrilled with the overall condition of the property. We did the inspection walkthrough. The inspector called out multiple things that were deferred maintenance, things that are just of major concern. The roof needs to be replaced. The HVAC system is basically dead. It's original to the home. The home's 25 years old. We don't even know how it's still working, whatever the issue is. Let's start with, you just want to cancel the contract. Well, then we would, either way, however you choose to move forward, you love the home, you're ready to move forward, you don't have any repairs, you love the home, you're ready to move forward under certain conditions where there are repairs that you want to make, or you just can't take on the amount of work that this home needs given the deferred maintenance on the property. There's just a lot of red flags and concerns that you have that you didn't see at time of walkthrough, and you just don't want to take it on. We deliver the same document to the seller. It's called the buyer inspection notice seller response document. I'll review that in a separate video and go through that in detail, but we use that document. So let's say you want to cancel the contract. You're overwhelmed with the amount of work that needs to be done. You just don't want to take on anything, or the commute's not going to work for you. There's something else, whatever your reason for wanting to cancel the contract, you decide to cancel the contract. As long as it's done within that first 10 days of inspection period, we're able to recover your earnest money for any reason whatsoever. And we delivered that notice through the BINSR. Like I said, the buyer inspection notice seller response. We delivered the cancellation through the BINSR there. All right, so that's step, if you choose to cancel, then you would get your earnest money. We go out and we start looking again, all right? Let's say that you love the property, but there are some issues that need to be addressed. The property needs a new roof, or it needs a new AC unit, or there's some electrical things that need to be dealt with, or whatever comes up, and you're willing to move forward as long as the seller is willing to make some repairs. We still use that same document. This has to be provided on, we're going to go with 10 days because that's what's standard in the contract. So let's say we're on day 10 of the contract and we say, okay, we're ready to move forward. We want to give the seller the opportunity to fix XYZ items. So we write that out and we give notice to the seller that we want to move forward with the property. However, there are some things in the home that we disapprove of and we want to give them the opportunity to fix it rather than just outright cancel. So we send that BINSR over. As soon as we send it over, let's say you're ready to do that on day 8. That's fine if we do it on day 8. However, you lose your last 2 days of inspection period. So you cannot change your mind and decide you want to cancel after that document has been sent to the seller. Let's say day 9, you find out something else about the property. We're bound within the terms of the contract. We send it over on day 8. So our inspection period is now closed. All right. So, but we say, all right, property needs a new roof. We want the seller to have the roof replaced prior to close of escrow. We want a new AC unit, or, we want these electrical items or these plumbing items fixed. I'm just calling out the most common issues that come up with a home. We want these items replaced or fixed or repaired. Once we deliver that document, the seller has 5 days to respond back to us. So they have 5 days to get estimates and to say they're willing to fix some of them, none of them, whatever. So that's where there's a lot of negotiation happening. I send over to the listing agent, here's a seller or buyer's ready to move forward with the home. However, we want to give the seller an opportunity to fix XYZ items, whatever those concerns are. Some of them are pretty minor and sometimes are really big ticket items. And I explained to the listing agent why we have the concerns and what we really want to have. These are the items that really matter to the buyer, and that's what we're giving the seller the opportunity to fix them. So they can then, at that point, they are able to respond to us. Within 5 days, they have to respond to us that they're willing to fix all the items. There's a box that they check saying that they're willing to fix all the items. If they check that box, we're moving forward. Appraisal is going to get ordered. Lender's going to get to work on what he needs to get done. Everything kind of just waits until we get to this point, because we don't know whether you're moving forward or not moving forward until after we get through inspections. So if they check that box that they're willing to make those repairs, we're good to go. But we're moving forward on this. They're going to have the repairs taken care of prior to close of escrow. Everything's good. Let's say that they come back and they're saying, well, we're willing to do some of the repairs, but we're not willing to do all of the repairs. All right. Or we're not going to do any of these repairs. If you're buying this house, you bought it as is. We're not making any repairs. We're not willing to. We don't have the funds to. Whatever their reasons are, they're not going to make the repairs. Then you have a choice as the buyer at that point. At that point, if the seller comes back and says, we're making some or none of the repairs, then you are able to cancel depending on their response. So if you don't like their response, let's say the house needs a new roof and they're not willing to replace the roof, and they're not willing to give you a credit to handle the roof post-closing, or whatever the issue is, and we're not able to find a solution that works for everybody, then you can say, fine, we'll move on. Like, we'll go find something else that's in a little bit better condition, and we're going to cancel the deal. So you still have an opportunity to cancel under more narrow terms, but you do have the opportunity to cancel depending on the seller's response. Now, verbal discussions do not extend to these time periods. So like, let's say that the listing agent and I are going back and forth and they're struggling with getting an estimate for the roof, or they're struggling getting an HVAC person because it's July and they're all busy to come out and actually evaluate what is going on with the AC system and whether it can be repaired, or if the AC is at the end of its life, whatever it is. They ask for 2 extra days. We need to do an addendum, and we need to call out that we're giving the seller an additional 2 days to get that estimate in order to get the response back. If the seller does not respond to us within that 5-day window, it means that they're saying that they're not willing to make any repairs whatsoever. So these timelines are very tight in terms of getting responses back, but it's in order to keep everything moving along. So it's really important that even if we have a verbal discussion, it's reinforced in writing and it's attached to the contract so that everybody is aware and everybody knows what we are doing, and that there's not a question of how the timelines lined up, so that if we do have to fight for earnest money, that we can say, well, no, we have it in writing. It was in the addendum. We gave them an extra 2 days. They responded back, so that there isn't a question on the cancellations and things. Buyer's failure to give notice of disapproved items or cancellation of this contract within the specified time period shall conclusively be deemed that the buyer's election to proceed with the transaction without correction of disapproved items. So if we don't send the Binzer on day 10 or earlier, then you're saying you're moving forward with the property. You're essentially, like, without sending it, you've locked yourself in. If we don't get that document over to the seller at that time. So when I send it over and I tell you that I need you to sign it, then it's important that you sign it so that I can make sure I'm delivering it within the proper time frame. If it's after we get a response back from the seller and we don't like their response and you're not willing to move forward unless they're willing to make the repair, then we have to deliver cancellation at that point and say, we're not willing to move forward. We're canceling. And we have to do it within that window of time, within that window. Otherwise, your earnest money is at risk. So that's why it's really important that everything is in writing and attached to the contract to protect you as the buyer as much as we can. All right. So moving on to the home warranty. So home warranty, like I said earlier, this is very different than the homeowner's insurance. Homeowner's insurance insures the entire entity of your property. I guess is, if there's a massive storm and let's say a tree falls on your house and takes out half the roof or whatever, or there's a fire or a hailstorm and it breaks a bunch of roof tiles or anything like that. Something happens at your home, you have guests over, somebody falls, they hurt themselves, they sue you for hurting themselves, all the liability coverages, that's all included as your homeowner's insurance. That's separate than a home warranty. A home warranty covers sort of the minor things like appliances and things that your homeowner's insurance necessarily won't cover. So let's say your refrigerator goes out. And the compressor's out and you need to have it out. If you have a home warranty, you can call them, you pay like a $75 fee, they come out, they assess what's wrong with it, and they'll get you a new compressor, or if they can't get a compressor, then they'll give you a certain amount towards a new refrigerator. So it's like insurance for your appliances, insurance for minor electrical things. They'll come out and rekey the property after closing if that's what you want. Sometimes they include things like AC, HVAC servicing once a year and things like that. There's a million things that they include. They're very controversial. Some people really love them. Some people really, they don't see the value in them. I typically recommend getting one for the first year you've been in the home. That way, because there's quirks to the house, and you just never know. You weren't the one that lived there before. It just gives you a little extra layer of protection. And then if you don't see the value in it post closing, then go ahead and cancel it after the 1 year. But if we could get the seller to pay for it, something that you want, just to give you a little extra peace of mind, great. If you don't see the value in it, I wouldn't use it as a massive sticking point one way or the other in terms of, having it be in there as part of the contract. So walkthrough. So seller grants buyer and buyer's inspector reasonable access to conduct walkthroughs of the premises for the purpose of satisfying the buyer that any corrections or repairs agreed to by the seller have been completed. So we typically do this a few days prior to close of escrow. I do my best to collect receipts. So that we have receipts from any qualified person that came out. Maybe we had HVAC come out. Sometimes we'll get a handyman to do some work, or sometimes it's kind of a small job and it's something that the seller is able to do. If it's under a certain dollar amount, then the contract will allow for the seller to do the work themselves in what's called a quote workman-like manner. Again, it's something that it's really very case by case specific, but we should do walkthroughs and then inspections to ensure that everything's working properly prior to closing, that the repairs that we were supposed to do were done. I again like to do these a day or two before closing, just because we want to give the seller some time to figure out if there's something that's not working properly or wasn't done up to the standards that the buyer required, or we have questions about. We have a little bit of extra time to resolve it. Seller's responsibility regarding inspections and walkthrough. Seller shall make the premises available for all inspections and walkthrough upon reasonable notice to the buyer. Seller shall at seller's expense have all the utilities on, including any propane, until close of escrow. So this is really important. Sometimes we see it in foreclosures where the utilities are not on, but even if it's a foreclosure or a bank-owned property, the utilities should at least be on for the inspections and for our walkthrough. So if they temporarily turn them off, that's fine. We need to give them notice that we're coming, and we want to make sure water, gas, electricity is all on so we can properly test and ensure that everything's working properly. And then again, IRS and FIRPTA reporting. Again, this is more for the seller, that the FIRPTA, the Real Property Tax Act, that any foreign investor is reporting to the IRS that there's the sale of the home, that they're held. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I said 15 or 1.5%. It's actually 15% of the purchase price is taxes if it's a foreign resident. Again, this doesn't necessarily apply to you as the buyer, but it has to be in the contract because it's a legally binding document between a seller and a buyer. And so anything that's a buyer's responsibility to disclose also has to be in the contract. All right. So we'll do video number 5. We'll start with this section 70 remedies, and then go into the final part of the contract.